What is going on, all of you half genie heroes out there in the world? I am Mega Amster. Thank you for watching this review video. Whether you are a new or returning viewer, I appreciate you stopping by. And today I am talking about the fairly recent release of Shantae Advance Risky Revolution. Now, just for some backstory here, this game was originally supposed to come out on the Game Boy Advance. It was supposed to be the second game in the Shantae series, but it got canned for the original Game Boy Advance, and then instead we ended up years later getting Risky Revolution, a DSiWare exclusive game, but eventually came to platforms like Steam, and then so on. But WayForward decided to revive this project and kind of put their own spin on it, and visit it here. And so here we are. We now have this version out. I don't know if the digital version is out on platforms like Switch and other platforms. The version that I was playing, I actually got the physical cartridge that Limited Run Games was doing. And they didn't really talk much about that ahead of time. It just kind of showed up out of nowhere. I feel like it just all of a sudden was like, hey, it's shipping about 1 to 2 months ago as of this upload. And I was like, oh, cool, okay. And so then I finally got it. I finally have beaten it. And I wanted to provide my thoughts on the game here. But before we get into it, I just want to clarify, I'm going to have a light to no spoiler section at the very beginning. So in case you want to play this and just want my overall thoughts without spoilers, I'll mention that there. And then we'll get into the spoiler section near the end. But let's start with the no to light spoilers first. I enjoyed my time with this game. I've played every other Shantae game, and now I've completed every Shantae game up to this point. And this is probably in the upper half of my favorites. Now, what I will say off the bat, it's a very short game. It's not a very long game. It's maybe a little bit longer than Risky's Revenge, but if you've played the game before, you know that game is also very short, kind of feels like it was cut off pretty quickly. And here, I think part of that is due to the fact that it was kind of a lost game, and they went back and brought back what materials they had, and I'm sure added some more polish to it as well. But it is not a long game. It's honestly probably like a 5-hour game, if I had to say. But, you know, if you go after all the collectibles, you'll have a little more time to explore. But just the basic premise of this game, for those of you who may not even played Shantae before, how do I describe Shantae, right? Most of the games, with the exception of Half Genie Hero, that game is really a 2D platformer. But most of the games are kind of almost like a Zelda, Metroidvania-ish kind of setup where you have an overworld you explore, you get collectibles, and then you have different dungeons you go through. And what makes Shantae different from other series is that Shantae can transform into different creatures. There are different transformations that she sees. So for example, you can see there's a monkey mode, there's a crab form, you see mermaid here, and other ones that you unlock along the way. I won't spoil them all. So, you know, just in case, so you can figure them out for yourselves. But, you know, each dungeon has like has bosses, different keys to collect. So in that case, the dungeons are very similar to a Zelda-like game, which, you know, if you enjoy that, you might like that. Definitely non-linear in that regard. But like the dungeons are fun to explore, and then you have the overworld as well. What makes this game in particular interesting, not only for the fact that it's a lost game, but you have the different plane shifting, which they kind of explored in Risky's Revenge as well. So to me, it means they took those ideas from Shantae Advance, put them in Risky's Revenge later on, but they went back and kind of cleaned that up. And made it fun. So if you are a fan of the classic Shantae games, if you did not like what they did with Half Genie Hero, where they really streamlined it and really just made it level by level 2D platformer, and Seven Sirens was kind of a return to form a little bit, but it was also originally an Apple Arcade exclusive. They eventually brought it to other platforms, but you could still feel like it had that kind of mobile design in mind. I still enjoyed it, but this really is a return to form for Shantae. Like I said, it's much shorter, but if you like that original Shantae gameplay, this will be up your alley. It's also really, really fun to play on Game Boy Advance, I will say. It controls really well. It's fun to kind of explore. And I don't know, it was really fun to control that way. The pixel art, fantastic. Starting with Half Genie Hero and Seven Sirens, they went for this more hand-drawn 2D look, kind of like what they did with DuckTales Remastered, if you've ever seen that game. I believe it's the same engine. I could be wrong about that, though. This is a return to form when it comes to the pixel art, and I love Game Boy Advance pixel art in particular. This one looks fantastic. Soundtrack, same thing. I love the Game Boy Advance sound font. It's super nostalgic for me, and they did that and then some with this version, which is absolutely great. So I really enjoyed that. Just the presentation of it is really, really good. I will say the characters I didn't love, and I think it's interesting because in recent games, especially I think like Pirate's Curse and somewhat Half Genie Hero, they really explore the side characters a lot too, like Sky, Bolo, Roddy Tops. This is technically Roddy Tops' canon introduction now, not Risky's Revenge. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like especially Sky kind of got shafted a little bit when it comes to the characterization in this game, whereas she like is more of a character in later games, especially Pirate's Curse. That's the one I always compare to, because for me, Pirate's Curse, even after playing this game, is the magnum opus when it comes to Shantae games. That game is fantastic. I wish they had a little more focus on character. Bolo here was solid. Uncle Mimic was okay. He was just kind of a means to an end, and I'll explain that later in the spoiler section. But they introduced some new characters as well that are pretty decent. They don't have a ton of screen time. It really is focused on Shantae here, of course, fighting Risky, her nemesis as always. But the general plot, without getting too much into it, essentially Risky has another plot to kind of ruin Sequin Land and take over. That involves just shifting like tectonic plates essentially through the overworld, and she's using that to her advantage, and she's swapping terrains with each other, and that's kind of where the forward and background plane navigation comes into play with this this game here. And so the gameplay kind of supports the plot in that regard, and then you have to kind of correct everything and stop Risky once and for all. So not a very in-depth narrative, but Shantae never usually has super in-depth narrative, so that's fine to see here. It works really well for what it is. And it's a means to an end. The gameplay itself is just fantastic, like across the board. This is the Shantae gameplay I do really enjoy. A bunch of different transformations you can go through. I will say, compared to previous games, I feel like some of the transformations are limited. The tough thing with Shantae, right, it's a double-edged sword when it comes to the transformations, right? Because as much as I love the transformations, you could argue it breaks up the flow of gameplay. Right, but at the same time, Shantae also very much is like a puzzle platformer. But what I will say, like I think especially Half Genie here, if I remember correctly, they really sped up the dance sequences for transformations here. Thankfully, you don't have to wait the entire sequence to like switch between. It's controlled by pressing the right, at least in the Game Boy Advance, and I'm sure the modern platforms once it releases there. The R trigger, and then you do a selection on the D-pad or the A and B buttons on the Game Boy Advance. So thankfully, you don't have to wait. You used to be able to have to wait through a whole entire cycle until Shantae switches animations, and depending on what animation you stop the dance at, that'll determine what transformation you trigger. So thankfully they fixed that. I think the last time they did that was what, Risky's Revenge? So it's been a while, but I'm glad to see they modernized that from here. But the gameplay itself is good. The dungeons are fun enough to explore. I really did like the dungeon gameplay. The overworlds are decent. It's like the game itself is honestly well made. It does not overstay its welcome. Like I said, it's super short. I kind of wish there was a little more content, honestly. But like the content that's here is very high quality. The boss fights are fun. I really enjoyed those, and the whole ending sequence there. The characters are really funny. What I really like to see here, right, because this would have been the second game after the original Shantae. The original Shantae, honestly, I played a few years ago for the first time via the 3DS, the Virtual Console. And like the writing wasn't anything to write home about, whereas recent Shantae games, especially starting with Pirate's Curse, have become known for their kind of humorous, comical writing. A little fan servicey, which gets a little weird in certain areas, but it's kind of a thing Shantae's always had since like Pirate's Curse and beyond. I'm happy to say that the writing here is witty and funny as always. Maybe not as much so as like Pirate's Curse to me is like the top of the top in terms of like funny, witty writing. But they kept a more humorous tone for this one. There's a lot of different jokes, a lot of adult jokes too, which Shantae does tend to do a lot, which is kind of a weird vibe. But like, they do have like some of the witty writing here. So if you like that about the more modern Shantae games, they apply that but to an older gameplay style here. Otherwise, I'm trying to think. The animal transformations are fun. I have some. There's one in particular I don't love that I'll get into in the spoiler section. But a lot of the classics are here. Trying to think if any of them are really new. They're mostly returning ones. That's all I'm going to say without spoiling anything. But like the gameplay of it is still pretty fun. It's just like I said earlier, it's a double-edged sword of transforming in the middle of a level. Does it break up the pace? Some might argue it does. I kind of feel that sometimes. But it's really like a puzzle platformer. It really comes. There are a lot of sections where you have to constantly switch between the animal transformations, and so I do wish there was a faster way to do that. But that is a problem that almost every Shantae game, except for Pirate's Curse, because that had the pirate-based abilities, almost every other Shantae game has that issue. So I don't really know how you fix that without completely overhauling the system. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, I'm trying to think of what else I could really talk about here. The collectibles are fun. There's some optional ones as well as some mandatory ones to progress the story. I feel like the game does a fairly good job of showing you into the right direction. There were a couple times where I'm like, you know, I was kind of like, okay, like it's not immediately apparent where I'm supposed to go to finish this fetch quest in order to progress the story. But I mean, with a little bit of exploration, you'll find it soon enough. Like I said, the game isn't huge, so it's not like you're going to be scouring around all over the place endlessly looking for stuff. It's pretty intuitive about how to navigate, but some players might run into a bit of a snag there. I can't think of much else to talk about this game. It's just really well paced, really good content. Like, this is a very, very good Shantae entry, and I would definitely put it in the upper half. Like I said, it doesn't beat out Pirate's Curse for me. I would put it above Risky's Revenge. I think the content here is higher quality than Risky's Revenge, even if it's maybe a tiny bit longer. But I would put it above Half Genie Hero, probably Seven Sirens. I guess, does that make it my second favorite Shantae game? I feel like it might. Just like everything, the presentation, the pixel art looks absolutely fantastic. Just the core gameplay itself. There's upgrades, there's special items as always too. Like if you're used to the other Shantae games having. Enemies are fun. Level design never felt too cheap. Boss fights were very solid. Like my only complaint is that I wish there was more. Besides the pace breaking of the animal transformations, but like I said, that's almost in every Shantae game. So I want them to find them in an even more streamlined way. They've improved it over the years since with each Shantae game, but if they could speed that up even more, that'd be great. I just don't know how they would do it. My other complaint is that it's not enough. You know, it's not that it's not enough. I wish there was more. The game does not overstay its welcome, but I think it could have gotten away with maybe 1 or 2 more dungeons, and then it would be absolutely fantastic in my opinion. But what's on display here is really great, and I'm honestly just happy to see that this game came back from the dead. The fact that WayForward was like, you know what? Like, for Shantae, let's go back and revisit this lost game and bring it back. And I know limited run games, very controversial, like bring back a physical version with them. I mean, they announced this, at the end of 2023, I want to say, so it's been like 2 years, year and a half, 2 years max, and they sent all these out ahead of, from what I can tell, the digital release. I know it says summer 2025 in this trailer. I don't think it's out yet. It should be coming out soon, though. Definitely correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that, but I didn't even mess around with the multiplayer battle mode. Actually, I don't even know if that's in the Game Boy Advance version. That might be only the digital version, but either way, I haven't tried that out. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, really quality Shantae game. Especially if you're a fan of the older style of gameplay, I think you will really enjoy this. Like the first few games in particular. The closest comparison I can make is to Risky's Revenge, but like I said, I think it's a little bit longer and it's a little higher quality of content than Risky's Revenge. This doesn't feel as rushed as Risky's Revenge did. Whereas this is just a really, really solid time overall. I wish there was a little more content, but for what it is, it's still a really, really good time. I would recommend, I mean, at this point, I don't know if you can get the physical Game Boy Advance cartridge anymore, but when it comes out digitally, I would definitely give it a shot. You know, if you're at all curious, if you like Metroidvanias, if you like Zelda-style games, you've never played Shantae before, I mean, this is a solid one to jump into. Because even though it has the old look, it has a lot of more modern design sensibilities, even though it's an old GBA game. And especially, I mean, if you love GBA games, give this one a shot. It feels like it literally feels like it could have been released with the GBA. So yeah, I mean, overall, that's going to be my like to know spoilers section of this review. I'm going to give you a few seconds to click away before I get into some more specifics and spoilers here. So I'll give you a few seconds to click away if you need to. All right, let's talk about spoilers here. Overall, really liked my time with this game. I did not get all the secret squids. I think I got almost all of them. I missed one of each in like the big overworld areas, like the Naga Cliffs, Orc Orchard. I missed like one in all of those. So including the dungeons, I did pretty damn good. I only missed a few. My completion time, I think, was something like 6 or 7 hours. But yeah, you know, I got all those. Actually, thinking about it, I don't think I got the Harpy Talon. The Harpy is like my favorite transformation. Whenever they include the Harpy in these games, it's like the Harpy's absolutely broken and I love it. Such a good transformation to have. If there are any secret transformations, I'm not aware of them in this game. There could be, though. I totally could be. I have no idea. I ended up getting all the cartridges for those wolves. That was kind of funny. I mean, those just got you hard upgrades, but still worth doing if you could find them. I'm trying to think of what dungeon was my favorite. They were all, honestly, because there were only, 3 total? They were all pretty solid, I will say. Like I said, I wish there was more content, but like for what it was, the content itself here was very high quality. So I really, really enjoyed that about them. like I said before with some of the characters, like Sky is literally just a means to fly around. Like she really doesn't have a lot of character in this game, which I didn't love. Uncle Mimic was like okay. Having the other relic hunters was cool though. You know, I thought that was a really cool narrative device to like introduce these other people who like Uncle Mimic has worked with in the past, because he's a super smart inventor, and it's like it makes sense that he would have worked with other people in the past, and so that you get to meet them, and they're pretty decent. I do like them. Shantae and Risky are good as always. Yeah, Bolo having a younger brother was actually really funny, and they played that joke up that I actually think it worked really well. Roddy Tops being here was cool. I do wish they kind of gave more of a reason for why she was here. I know they explore more of her and her brothers in Risky's Revenge, but I kind of wish they had more for her to do in this game instead of her just being like, oh, I randomly met this zombie. You know what I mean? So I didn't love how they handled some of the characters, but I mean, it's a Shantae game. They never go super in depth with the characters, so what are you going to do? Otherwise, the new characters are pretty solid. You know, the different islands, and like the writing it's really good. I really like the writing in this. I always get a little weirded out by the fan service here because I think they're all like 16, so it's kind of a weird vibe, but if you like that in Shantae, it's there. But yeah, the different enemies, a lot of the returning enemies was great to see, and some new ones as well. Pixel art, man, this game just looks so gorgeous. Absolutely love how this game looks, especially on the Game Boy Advance. It felt so good to play. It felt right at home playing that on a GBA. Like I said earlier, boss fights were great. I'm trying to think of other specifics. For the most part, the fetch quests were pretty easy, like pretty straightforward. There were a couple times where I had to explore around a little more, but most of those were related to the optional ones. There's really not much else for me to say. Like, I will say one thing, WayForward. If you can work, actually, is it Jake Hoffman who worked on the soundtrack? I actually don't even know. Maybe it wasn't, but release a soundtrack on streaming services, please. That would be fantastic. But I like what they do with having the art style for the artwork and then the in-game sprites. I really do like that balance of the new and the old. This game really feels like they went back to the original project, added some modern design sensibilities to the game, put it on a GBA cartridge and soon enough digital platforms, and uploaded it there, which is really cool. The plane switching mechanic to me didn't feel super unique, especially because it was in Risky's Revenge a little bit. You know, but like it added to some interesting gameplay. The switching of the planes, the forward and backward planes, that was kind of cool to add some puzzle solving. Honestly, frustrated me a couple times because I just couldn't tell where I was going, but I mean, I guess that was kind of the point. Yeah, I mean, overall, story, nothing super much to write home about. Shantae saves the day, bada bing, bada boom. But yeah, it was kind of cool. I don't know, I did enjoy that a lot, so yeah, I mean, there's really not much else for me to say. I guess in terms of the transformations, yeah, the Harpy was my favorite. The Crab I didn't love, even when I got the upgrade that made it like drop almost like Metroid Morph Ball bombs. Still didn't really love it too much. I don't know. I think in Half Genie Hero, or maybe Seven Sirens, it has like the Claw Snap, which I would have preferred to have that kind of upgrade. Mermaid was great. Harpy was great. Elephant is slow, but great as always. Monkey, I wish you had the monkey bullet, unless it's in the game and I just didn't realize it, but like there was the monkey sonar, which I guess was cool, but I would have much rather have the monkey bullet like in the previous games here. Spider was cool. I liked how they handled Spider in this game compared to some other games. I think they handled it really well here. But yeah, Harpy, my favorite for sure. I never found the Harpy talent if it is in this game. I never found it, which would have been absolutely busted, but I mean, the transformation itself is busted as always. Overall, I mean, let me segue here for the very end. Overall, now that we're done with spoilers, like this game is really a solid time. If you are a Shantae fan, I mean, this is another one to check out for sure, especially once it comes out on digital platforms, hopefully soon after this upload. Even if you've never checked out a Shantae game before, I think this is a solid entry. It's not too difficult. Risky's Revenge I remember being kind of tough. I would highly recommend, if you're going to check out any Shantae game, still check out Pirate's Curse, but this could be another good option or a follow-up to Pirate's Curse to check out, especially because it is more of a traditional gameplay Shantae game. Really good dungeon design, really fun bosses, music and art style look fantastic. Yeah, overall, really enjoyed my time with this one, albeit a little short. I wish it was a little longer, but I mean, that's probably the best complaint you can have about a game, right? A really quality game overall, and I hope for the next Shantae game they take more inspiration from this, even if it's in the more modern style. Have some inspiration taken from working back on this game to kind of rejuvenate for the future of the Shantae series. I'm looking forward to seeing what Shantae does and where she goes next. But with that, thank you so much for watching this review video. Let me know in the comments below, have you played this game yet? Did you get the collector's edition? Did you get the standard physical version? Or if you haven't played it yet, are you looking forward to checking out the digital release that comes to modern platforms hopefully pretty soon as of this upload? Definitely let me know in the comments below. Or if you've never played a Shantae game, are you going to check this one out? Are you going to check out any of the other games that I mentioned? But with that, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you all in the next video or live stream. And until then, stay fresh. I'll see you later.